Hello Aries and welcome to your reading. This is Bright Soul Collective Tarot. My name is Laura and these will be your intuitive insights and advice for the month of August 2022. So this reading will be for Aries, Sun, Moon, and Rising. And as always, if you know your three major placements, you can feel free to listen to any and all of the readings that apply, as each one of them may resonate for you differently. And we always have to remember that these readings are general in nature. They're meant to apply to a more broad collective of individuals, so not necessarily every detail that comes through will make sense for you. Definitely take anything and everything that does resonate for you, however that makes sense in your specific situation. Keep an open mind to anything that might be helpful, and you can simply leave the rest. So Aries, I hope you're doing well. I hope you're having a great summer so far. I am super appreciative that you're here sharing this time and space with me, and I'm really excited to take a look at what August is going to have to offer. And I'm also really excited because I'm going to do a different kind of style of reading. I've thrown structure to the wind, and we're going to do something completely different because it's Leo season, and I feel like everybody needs a good pep talk. So instead of focusing on the overall energy and like kind of challenge and how to overcome that this month, we are actually going to be focusing on your strengths for this month, what you need to know, and kind of just giving you a little pep talk from the universe. So yeah, I'm really excited. I have no idea what this is going to turn out like, but I'm really looking forward to getting into it. So I've got your oracle card here, which represents you, your energy, your strength, your gift or blessing for this month. And then we will get you some tarot and get affirmations, finish off with an oracle card. And I'm still going to do your channeled messages, but I'm actually going to do them at the end of the reading. So after we finish reading the tarot and before I get your final oracle card pulled, then I'll share with you the couple of channeled messages just to kind of switch things up. We need to infuse a little new energy this month. So I will share with you though, before we get your tarot, that I was picking up on your energy as I was getting prepared, and it felt like a very high energy, a very kind of excited, I don't know, you could be feeling particularly energetic, excited. Maybe there's like a sense of rejuvenation or like kind of like a youthful energy. And even as I was like trying to write in my notebook, it's like my hands were kind of jittery. So it's almost like caffeine jitters, but like it didn't feel like that. It was kind of just like, yeah, excitement, almost like a thrill, right? So I don't know, you may be in a space where you're kind of connecting with a little bit more of that, but I thought it was kind of neat energy to kick off this month. So we'll start with your oracle card. So this month you have why. So let me just see if I can prop this up here. So this is a really interesting card, and I don't think this has ever come out in any of the readings that I've recorded thus far. Actually, I don't think it's come out in any reading that I've done for anyone, whether like in person or recorded. So this means for you this month, Aries, your gift is coming to maybe like a deeper sense of understanding, as you know, in terms of the why of your life. So why you do certain things, why you feel a certain way, why you may act or say certain things, why you engage in certain relationships. It's kind of like you're being given the gift of that intuitive level of introspection that helps you get to know yourself a little bit more deeply, a little bit more intimately. And I think that's really beautiful, because the more that you connect with yourself, the more that you know yourself on a genuine, authentic level, the easier it is for you to be able to recognize your strengths and kind of channel your energy into the things that are going to be most important for you. So you may be somebody who already is relatively like introspective or reflective or kind of focused on personal development, or perhaps not. So this is your gift. This is your blessing for this month. So you obviously have the willpower to decide if that's something that you want to engage in. But I think this is going to be a really, really good month just to start asking yourself questions gently. Maybe ask yourself why. And this could be in any situation. So if it's a situation, that's high vibrational, that's fun and enjoyable, as opposed to like other areas of your life that may not be on that same wavelength, maybe ask yourself, like, why? Why is it that I feel especially good when I'm with this person, or when I'm doing this specific thing, or when I'm in this specific place, right? And it's recognizing that, asking that gentle why, and allowing yourself to kind of connect to the answers that come to you intuitively. This is not about like a logical or rational analysis. This is very much like what your heart is telling you. And so it's like, whether it is positive or negative or even just a neutral kind of situation, you can always benefit from asking why. Right? Because even if it's something seemingly simple, you might be surprised by the answers that are delivered to you. And it's also recognizing that sometimes we've got stuff going on in the subconscious. We've got things that were ingrained in us, or ways that were programmed, that may or may not be beneficial, that may or may not be actually in alignment with, what we want and what we value. And sometimes we're not able to identify that those things are even there, or that they're impacting us, until we start asking those questions. So it's also giving you the freedom to just be a little bit inquisitive, and see what's going on under the surface. Like, are there hidden motives? Maybe something that your heart really wants, that perhaps on some level you're denying yourself, and it's there, and it's kind of trying to come out through perhaps like triggers or reactions to things. And if you allow yourself to kind of delve a little bit deeper, you might recognize, like, hey, there's a need that's been going unfulfilled, and it's coming out, in this way. And you know what? I don't want to say that this is what I'm picking up on anyone's situation, but it's kind of like an example that came to mind, is like, sometimes when people are unhappy in relationships, they push the other person away, or they push that person away to the point where it's like trying to get somebody else to end the relationship, because they don't want to have to be the one to do it. So it's like, maybe they're not happy, but they're not willing to like make the first move, or they might like engage in like less than loyal behavior, to try and like force someone else's hand. So it's like, people have justifications for any and every behavior, but it's like, really, it might not have anything to do with that person or with your relationship, and it has more to do with the fact that perhaps you don't see yourself with that person, and you're just trying to push things ahead, even though like maybe on a rational, logical level you're denying that by continuing being in that relationship or situation. And like I said, that's just an example. So it's an example. Sometimes we can have hidden motives that we're maybe like a little bit in denial of, but ultimately we're still being influenced by, and we're acting in such a way. So it's kind of like, this is going to be a really, really perfect month for you to just step into self-discovery, and to do that in a really non-judgmental, in a really gentle way, and to look at it as like an investment in yourself, getting to know yourself better. Because whether what you find there is like surprising or not, maybe there's some maybe there are some needs that are not being met, maybe there are some kind of concerns that have been buried, but whatever it is, it's really going to allow you to kind of come into a deeper level of understanding and self-acceptance, and to kind of give yourself freedom from anything that might be weighing you down or keeping you tied to things that are not necessarily in your best interest. So it's kind of like, when you know your why, you can really harness your ability to manifest, because the why, whether you're consciously aware of it or not, the why is basically like that spark of energy that's in the seed that you plant. So that's kind of like, the why is what you're going to create, what's driving you, what's motivating you. And so whether there's something that you're trying to move toward or to manifest, whether you're like motivated to kind of achieve a certain goal, or perhaps you're feeling a little bit lost, or you're in a transitional space and you don't know what that is, it's like the why is always going to be connected to your values, to what's important to you, to what is motivating you to kind of take action. And it can tell you a lot about yourself. And so I think it's recognizing that you've got all of this personal power at your fingertips, and you can channel that perhaps even more efficiently than you already are. And the more that you know about your why, the more that you're able to accept yourself, that is going to bring you to a deeper level of clarity. And it's going to help you feel empowered to make decisions that are more in alignment with yourself. And it might not just be like in a personal sense, it might also be understanding why. Like, perhaps perhaps doing this level of reflection and asking yourself why things have happened a certain way, you might actually come to a realization like, even especially if there are things in your life that have been kind of hanging over you or not quite making sense, or things that have been less than ideal, it might be an opportunity for things to start falling into place, where you really see like, this is why that happened, this is why that person came into my life, or this is why I lost that job, or it's kind of like you might be having some moments of realization or full circle moments where you're able to kind of see the bigger picture and the why, and the things that were kind of question marks before are becoming more clear. And it might just help you settle into your own energy a little bit more, and even understanding like the motives of other people as well. So we're gonna get you some tarot to take a look at what you need to know this month, what's being highlighted for you, what your advice is. So your first card is the Two of Swords. Oh my goodness, dropped it. And your second card is the Empress. Maybe we'll get you one more. And your third card is the Six of Cups. And at the bottom of the deck, we have the Ace of Wands. And maybe I'll clarify these. Okay, Two of Swords is clarified by the Ace of Cups. I might have to move these cards up a little bit. Empress. Let's see if we can clarify that. I dropped another one. Okay. Empress is clarified by the Seven of Pentacles. And we'll clarify the Six of Cups. So part of my approach this month is like, in throwing structure out the window, I am going to try and read a little bit more intuitively, which I read intuitively anyways, but it can be more difficult like with structure than like, analysis, logic starts to come in. So the Six of Cups is clarified by the King of Wands, and then at the bottom of the deck we have the Four of Swords. So this energy at the bottom of the deck indicates that there might have been kind of like a rest period, a period where maybe you weren't particularly active, taking action, maybe things were kind of slowing down, you needed to take time to rest and recuperate. So this could have to do, it could have to do with loss or heartbreak, anything that you need to recover from. It could be health issues, anything that might kind of stop you in your tracks and make you need to kind of just lay down, take a rest, try to reduce the amount of stress and the number of things on your plate, anything that kind of slows you down. It's a time for healing, sometimes introspection. And it's coming up with the Ace of Wands, which is all about new opportunities to kind of connect with and move toward our passion, our inspiration, our creativity, the things that we're excited about. So there could have been like a rest, a recovery period, and with that could have come like a renewal. So a renewed spark, perhaps a connection to something that you're interested in, maybe a new opportunity or a new perspective on something or someone that you're passionate about. So it's kind of like a neat energy to introduce this whole vibe that we've got going on here. So with this in mind, that why, this getting to know yourself, asking yourself questions, figuring out your motives, why do you speak to this person this way? Why are you triggered by this thing? Why do you enjoy this and not that, right? That kind of being willing to ask yourself those questions, I really get the sense that if you accept this kind of gift that you're being given of this introspection and the ability to understand yourself and your motives, and to receive this clarity that it's kind of just waiting for you to grab it, I think you're going to be kind of taking the blindfold off. So it could be a really powerful month for you to kind of discover perhaps things in your subconscious that have been limiting you or influencing you, maybe those hidden motives that have been influencing you. It could even be like limiting beliefs, or coming to an understanding of like maybe the power that you wield in your own life, and how your decisions have brought you to this point, or perhaps kept you from whatever it is that you're trying to create. But whatever it is, there's definitely a sense of recognition and freedom that like you are an autonomous person, and whatever you believe and whatever you focus on is ultimately what your life is going to be. And so it's like you're not necessarily leaving life up to chance, and especially like when it comes to love and fulfillment and connection and relationships, right? So it's like you might have a decision that you need to make. It could be a decision in terms of self-love, or a particular relationship, a romantic relationship, a friendship, a soulmate connection, or it could be just connected to your emotions and your intuition. But the idea is maybe there's a decision that needs to be made that you have been avoiding, or you've been blind to. Maybe you haven't had the clarity or the information that you need in order to make the decision that you feel is best. But it's kind of like, with this clarity, with you asking yourself this why and gently accepting the answers, and doing like maybe a little bit deeper of a dive into what that really means for you, it's kind of like the blindfold is coming off. You're getting that clarity, you're getting that information that you need in order to understand your current situation, anything that might be unclear, any question that you have, like whatever question you're asking yourself, whatever you're really like wondering about, like when is this gonna happen for me, or what is the meaning of all of this. It's like there's the opportunity to kind of come to a new level of clarity and understanding, and that's going to help you feel a little bit more powerful in terms of your ability to do something with it, right? Because if you don't know your why, then you're going to be subconsciously kind of guided by whatever it is that motivation is. And the fact is, if you can recognize and accept it, then you can kind of like charge toward it with enthusiasm and with the knowledge that that's what's right for you. So that could be connected to love and relationships and fulfillment, a new opportunity for love, or a renewal of love and connection in your life, perhaps clarity of the type of people that you want to be engaged with, maybe the types of activities. And I kind of get this sense with the Empress and the Six of Cups here together, it might not only be clarity on like a current situation, but it could also give you clarity on yourself, like your relationship to yourself, the way that you've treated yourself. The Empress is a very nurturing, motherly kind of energy, right? It's very grounded, it's very protective. There's a lot of opportunity for creation and growth and manifesting in the material world, but it's also kind of acknowledging I don't know, something's coming up for me, like mother wound. Like there might be a mother wound, and it might not be, it could be in relation to your mother. It could just be like your role as a mother, or like maybe there's something to do with like a maternal figure, or your relationship to mothering and nurturing, however that might make sense to you. But it's kind of like you might be coming to a new level of understanding of perhaps wounds that you've carried, or fears that you've had related to that kind of mother energy, that actually stem from like childhood experiences, maybe the way that you were raised, the things that you were taught to believe. And I kind of get the sense that it's like maybe there are aspects of yourself that you've thought like that you fall short, or you're not good enough, and maybe there's been a lot of fear about your ability to nurture yourself and to nurture others. Maybe you've beat up on yourself And I think it's just like coming to a new level of understanding that you are a result, you know, of your environment, of your experiences. And, you know, we do the best we can with what we have. So it's interesting. So it's like you might have an abundance of that kind of nurturing, creative type of energy, but maybe you just haven't fully realized it, or maybe you haven't been able to accept it and to channel it. You know, maybe there's like fear or like a sense of inadequacy that might have had you holding back in terms of like really stepping into that energy and mothering yourself too, right? Because a lot of times the Six of Cups has to do with like, you know, yeah, that childhood energy, whether positive or negative. It can be looking back on the past, you know, fondly remembering those childhood experiences, recognizing how we're shaped, especially when it comes to emotions and relationships and love, and how we connect with that and express that energy moving forward in our lives. So it's kind of like, I feel like there's probably a lot there. A lot of the questions that you may be asking yourself might be very much related to your past, the decisions that you've made, the relationships that you've had, your family structure, you know, this nurturing motherly energy, however you might connect to that. And I kind of get this sense that you might be coming to a level of realization that you've been really hard on yourself, and maybe that's just something that you learned or that was ingrained in you, and it's not been reflective of who you really are, and it's not reflective of your worth. And I think that by recognizing, you know, any wounds that you might have or any of those fears that might have been ingrained in you, you can kind of take a look back on your life, the decisions that you've made, the things that you've kind of beat up on yourself about, and you can see it with a greater level of kindness and compassion for yourself, and kind of like regain that confidence and knowing that, you know, you are as strong and abundant, and you don't have to be female, because, like, you know, we all have this divine feminine energy, and this is, you know, creativity and birthing, you know, ideas into our physical reality, and how our intuition allows us to kind of like connect with and channel inspiration and to take action in a tangible way. But it's recognizing that, you know, you always have been worthy, you always have been capable, you've always had that ability, and you have an abundance of that energy to share. And it's kind of like, perhaps it's just been you and your fear holding you back. I don't know. Like I said, asking yourself these questions, there's clarity available to you, but it seems to be very much rooted in this like divine feminine creative energy, the decisions that you make regarding like love and fulfillment, relationships, the things that make you happy, and the abundance that you have in your life. Abundance can be, you know, physical, it can be like financial, it can be material goods, it can be health, it can be family and friends and love and fun. And it's recognizing that if you feel like you're in a deficit in terms of abundance, any form of abundance, it's recognizing that you have the power to kind of create opportunities to connect with more abundance, and recognizing your abundance, recognizing your worth. And, you know, looking back on your past, forgiving yourself, forgiving other people, giving yourself the opportunity to kind of connect with that clarity as to like why you are the person you are. Why do you make the decisions that you do? Why do you attract or tolerate or invite in the certain types of people and relationships that you do? And what information is there to help empower you to feel better? Because the Six of Cups comes up with the King of Wands, and the King of Wands is a very strong, very confident, self-assured, like energetic and charismatic leader. So it's kind of like, it's not perfect, but it's recognizing like, hey, I know my strengths, I know my weaknesses. I can be confident in taking action and moving toward my goal, and, you know, highlighting my strengths while I acknowledge that, hey, maybe there are things that I still need to work on. But it's kind of like allowing yourself to have a vision for your future that is exciting to you, and feeling confident in taking action on that. And it's kind of like squashing out that doubt or that fear of making the wrong decision, or avoiding making decisions that might potentially have like a major impact on you. So yeah, I'm sorry if this is kind of jumbled, but I very much see that there's an opportunity for you in this kind of reflection and this deep dive to perhaps look back on your past, anything, particularly if there are decisions that you feel like, or situations that you feel like you didn't handle as best as you could have, or you didn't show up in the best energy, anything that's hanging over you, anything that you guilt yourself about, especially anything connected to your mother, a maternal role, a maternal energy in your life. You're really being encouraged to reparent yourself. Not to say that your parents didn't do a good job, but it's kind of like, if you have childhood wounds, if you've got, if you've got generational trauma, things that you've picked, and we all do, it's recognizing that when you start asking yourself those questions, and you intuitively let the answers come to the surface, you might discover a little bit about your past and your history and the way that you've been impacted, and allowing that to come to the surface and gently accepting it, and kind of forgiving yourself or other people, whatever the case may be. You might be surprised to see that some of the things that you feel like you've maybe been hard on yourself about, or maybe have been blocking you, it's actually not yours. It's not any fault of your own. It's just kind of, it's a result of where you've been, and you've been kind of doing the best that you can with that. And I think coming to this clarity, having this greater level of understanding for yourself, it's really going to nurture your relationship to yourself. So if you're able to kind of reparent yourself, treat yourself like a child, speak to yourself like you would speak to your child, encourage yourself, mother yourself, as you work through these things and as you ask these questions, I think that you'll have an opportunity to kind of start letting go and seeing who you really are under all of those experiences that might be clouding your true self, right? So it's like, I don't know, there's an opportunity for empowerment here. I definitely see. And I'm going to share your channeled messages. So the first channel message that came up for you was figure 8. So the number 8 could be significant to you. It also, represents like the infinity symbol. It's kind of related to power, strength, karma, connected people and cycles. So it's like what goes around comes around. It could be the connection of two people, two lives. And it's like kind of, how we feed into cycles and dynamics, what we put out comes back to us eventually. So there could also be clarity related to that, right? So the decisions that you make, the energy that you're in, how you've put that out into the world, and how that has come back to you, how it's influenced your experience and returned back to you. So there might also be some cycles that you've been stuck in that are related to this past energy that needs to be healed, that you might be able to kind of release yourself from. The second message that came through was perpetual madness. So I don't like to use the word like crazy, but like it might feel like that. So it could be a particular situation, relationship, a specific person where it's just like, it's kind of like constant madness. Like things are just, they don't necessarily make sense. They're not necessarily logical or rational. You don't know how to deal with it or how to deal with that person, how to get through, what to do. So that might be a big question mark for you, is anything that feels like perpetual madness. And it doesn't have to be just madness in that sense. It could also be like a really fun time, right? So maybe there's somebody that like, kind of brings out your wild side and you guys have like a really fun time, and it's just perpetual madness when you're together. So yeah, I don't know how that might relate to you. And your third channeled message was endings, and the song Closing Time came up in kind of conjunction with that. So you might want to look up the song Closing Time. I can't remember who it's by. It's like one of those 90s songs. I don't know, Three Doors Down or Third Eye Blind, one of those You can Google it. So it might be worth listening to, taking a look at the lyrics, seeing how they might resonate for you. So yeah, it might be a sense of like coming to an understanding of cycles that need to be closed, things that you need to let go of, maybe boundaries that need to be set, like, you know, you don't need to go home, but you can't stay here. Kind of like embracing the ending and setting yourself up for something new. And it could also be revoking responsibility for someone else. So it's kind of like, hey, I'm doing my own thing. The bar is closing. This is my job. Like, you gotta go. I'm not looking after you anymore. But also there's a line in it that says, every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end. So it's kind of recognizing that as difficult as endings may be, it's like the only way that you can set yourself up for something new and for new energy to come in is by recognizing and embracing endings. So perhaps that might also be what comes up with this kind of newfound clarity this month. All right, so I'm going to get you an affirmation or two, and then we're going to get a final oracle card for advice for this month, and we'll leave it there. So I'm using my different affirmation cards this month. With clarity of mind, I feel abundance and worthiness coming through. Holy, I haven't touched this affirmation deck in a very long time, but I don't know that there's a better affirmation to go along with this reading. So clarity of mind, that's exactly what you have the opportunity to connect with. That is what your gift is this month. And I'm saying it's your strength and your gift. It may not feel like a gift because sometimes asking ourselves those questions and, you know, investigating the why and recognizing what comes up, it might not always be comfortable. It might not always be pretty. It might bring you to some realizations that have the potential to kind of change the way that you do things, which can be difficult. But it's recognizing that clarity really is a gift because you get to know yourself better. And the more that you know yourself, the easier it is to love and accept yourself. You're not hiding anything from yourself. You can kind of see yourself as you are, settle into that comfort. And it makes it easier to connect with abundance and to manifest something that's really, truly meaningful to you. And so your second affirmation is, I let go of all that no longer serves me. So that goes hand in hand with endings. And it might also be related to, like, you know, letting go of limiting beliefs, of fears, of, you know, inherited trauma or childhood wounds, or, you know, the ways that the vibe that I very much get is like, my hands are burning. The vibe that I very much get is that you guys may be hard on yourself. And it might be because of a mother figure that maybe set the bar high. It could be things that they said to you growing up, maybe just expectations, or it could be the expectations that you have in terms of how you're supposed to care for and mother other people, and maybe not extending that energy to yourself. I don't know, but yeah, ultimately you guys have the chance to kind of get some clarity on what that energy is and how that's been influencing you. And you can kind of take your power back from it, right? Because when you recognize that something is just like emotional, it's not necessarily logical, it's an experience that you've had, you can start to differentiate yourself, your authentic self, and what you want and what is most meaningful to you from, you know, those things that have been ingrained in you. Okay, so I'm just trying to get you one final oracle card to close this reading off. Okay, and I'm just going to read directly from the book, but it's taking forever, so there must be a very specific, oh my gosh, this is, as I was saying, there must be a very specific message for you. And you got Star Mother, how can you mother yourself? So yes, your clarity, the questions that you're asking yourself, the answers that are coming to you this month may very well, it doesn't have to, but it may very well have to do with something to do with motherhood, mothering yourself, nurturing yourself, or perhaps the ways that you haven't been, that you felt that you weren't supported by your parents. or like, yeah, like it could be like needing to go back and recognize like, hey, these were needs that were not met when I was growing up, or this was support that I didn't receive. And how do I start getting that help and support now? And how do I extend that to myself? So I'll read it from the book, Star Mother, How Can You Mother Yourself? You are more held than you can possibly imagine, loved and cherished so dearly that if you knew, you would not spend 1 second of your life in separation, worry, or fear. Let the mother carry your burdens. Let her rock away your fears. Lay all of your worries, regrets, shame, and guilt on her altar. Please, please, sweet child, do not fear. You are love in motion. If you allow it, you are already healed. Let her remind you of your goodness. Let her love away your fears. Your capacity to love and hold others is limited to your capacity to love and hold yourself. Be compassionate with your sweet body, mind, and soul. Treat yourself like the beautiful spirit that you truly are. Remind yourself that you are doing your best and try not to carry it all on your own. You have got this, and the mother has got you. Let her broad arms take away your burdens. Let her lift the weight of the world off your shoulders. Forgive yourself, my dear sweet child of the earth. And then the inquiry says, how can you mother yourself? So I don't think there's any questioning. Like, there's definitely clarity, connecting to yourself, getting a little bit more insight about who you are, what you've experienced, and how that shapes you. And in particular, like it says, you can't really like nurture other people more than you're willing to nurture yourself. So it's like if you struggle with that in your relationships, or you find you're giving too much in your relationships, or maybe like that's a challenge for you, it could be that you're just not extending that unconditional love and kindness, compassion, encouragement, understanding to yourself. You're not nourishing and nurturing yourself first and foremost. So it's more difficult for you to connect with that energy and extend that to other people. So yeah, this has the opportunity to be a really healing and empowering kind of month. And I think that if you are able to kind of embrace this energy, if this makes sense for you, yeah, you might come into a greater level of understanding and acceptance for yourself, and maybe even like a willingness to actually invest in yourself a little bit more. Like, yeah, knowing your worth, which is really, really beautiful. So Aries, I'm going to leave that reading here. I hope that you enjoyed. I hope this was beneficial for you. If you did enjoy the reading, the best way to support me is to like this video on YouTube, leave a comment. Beyond that, if there's anyone you can think of that might be interested in my readings, you can share my content with them. And make sure you've checked out my channel at Bright Soul Collective Tarot, that you are subscribed and signed up for notifications, as that will keep you up to date on new videos as they're posted. I'm hoping that August is the month that I'm going to be able to do like a mid-month reading or check-in. We'll see how it goes. But anyways, I hope that this was helpful. I hope you have a beautiful August, and I'm very much looking forward to reconnecting with you either later in the month or next month. And in the meantime, I'm wishing you all the very best.